Hi, this is Rob McLaughlin. Welcome to Sound Advice. Today we're going to continue on with the process of mixing our band. In the last video we talked about gain staging, the importance of having signal levels that are peaking about zero, making sure that every channel we're getting a clean level on all of those signals. Now we're going to move into mixing them and coming up with an overall sound for this band. Today we're still using the multi-track recording by Avalon called All I Need, and essentially we're going to look at what's quite often called the art of mixing, because it is basically every engineer has a different opinion of what sounds right, but what probably most important is that you get your sound to sound what it looks like, and we'll talk a little bit more about exactly what that means today. Let's go. Okay, to get things started today, we're going to take a look at the mixing desk here. Again, I've got my multi-track keyed up, ready to go, and I've already gone through the process of gain staging. Again, I can't overstress enough the importance of making sure that all your channels have been properly gain staged. In other words, you've gone through and checked that the incoming signal on the gain for every channel is peaking about zero. It's making sure that every signal is comparable. Now we're going to mix for volume. Again, gain is you're mixing the or you're adjusting rather the incoming signal using gain, the incoming signal to the channel. Now using volume, we're going to adjust the output of every channel. So again, this is referred to as mixing. So let's start the track. Now we know from if you've played this track a couple of times that the voice doesn't come in for a little bit, and the voice is really the most important. And you can start, it doesn't matter if you do gain staging, from 1 to 18 all the way through your channels, but when you're mixing, you want to make sure that you mix. I prefer to mix around the voice because the voice is the most important component of the sound. So let's start the track here. Okay, so we know this track's going to start off with the drums, but I want to focus on the vocals. Make sure that I'm bringing those vocals up front. And maybe we'll turn down the background a little bit, just so that I'm not going to be yelling over top of this track here. Again, we got little drums, but I'm waiting for that lead vocal. There it is, right there. So I'm going to bring that up, so I can get that vocal right up front, so it's front and center. It's got to be my primary focus. Wow, that's not bad. Right about there. Let's have a little more snare drum, maybe. And probably a little more bass guitar for this style of music. Again, depending on the style of music you're doing, it'll be a little bit different. Okay. I'm leaving all the rest of the instrumentation in the background. Oh, there's my backup singers. I'm going to bring them up a bit. Don't want them hidden too much. Okay, still got the main vocal front and center. Bass guitar's good. I've still got guitars, keyboards, not a bad level. And a little more snare drum here. There we go. Okay. Just listening. There's some of those backup vocals again. Okay, there they are. Okay, now we've got this little recorded voice in here. Again, bringing that to the front.
Rather, it's how you deal with what you find when you get there.
There we go.
Rather, it's how you deal with what you find when you get there.
And make sure that little sound bite plays out there quite well up front. Okay, now we're going into guitars. So here's a guitar solo. I've got guitars on 7, 8, 9, 10. Keyboards are also playing in on that solo. You can bring them up. Okay, I'm going to put them back down into the mix. And those vocals come back in so that they don't overplay. Don't want my instrumentation to overpower my vocal. I always want to make sure that vocal is front and center and is predominant in whatever I'm mixing. There's my backup singers, my lead singer. This instrumentation is fine, right about where it's sitting. It's there, but it's not overpowering. Okay, now we've got a guitar solo. So I can push that, bring that guitar right up front. We just walked up to the front of the stage. Keyboard players playing along with them. 2 keyboards on 11 and 12 here. So while that instrumentation is playing a solo, I'm pushing it up, bringing it to the foreground. There's no vocals, so I'm not concerned about it running over the vocals. Okay, and then we're going to slide it back into the mix. We're coming to the end of the track anyway. Great, there we go. I think we got a pretty good mix there. All right, so we're trying to do a little bit of an object lesson here about some of the things I'm talking about when I say that your sound should sound like it looks. All right, so what does your stage look like? Well, typically, drums are sort of center stage on the back line, maybe a bit up on that riser, and you probably got maybe bass guitar. So let's put bass guitar up here and lead guitar. So the lead guitar player back there, also what we call the back line. That line across the back of the stage where the drums, the bass amp, the guitar amp, whatever, that's what is referred to as the back line. So that's kind of a place to start. And in our particular track, of course, we have a lead singer. So let's put a lead singer right up here. Probably looks a little more country than our Avalon, but that's okay. And then we've got some keyboard parts going on. So maybe we've got a keyboard player over here, maybe out to the side on the stage. And then, of course, we have some backup singers. All right, so there's our backup singers. Now, when we talk about making your sound like it looks, your singer is up front. Your guitars are in the back. Your bass guitar is in the back. Your drum kit is back and center. Piano or keyboards a little bit back from the front singer. Backup singers, they're kind of mid-stage here. They're up far enough that we can hear them. They're ahead of or above the guitars and the drums so they can be heard, but they're not necessarily right up front. Like they're not up front here beside the singer. They're a little bit back, and so you notice when I was mixing, I kept the 3 tracks for backup singers just a little bit less than the main vocal. Now when things change, you saw what we did was the singer stops, and quite often on your stage what will happen is the singer will stop singing and he steps back a little bit, and the guitar player walks up here and he plays his solo. When that happens, your sound should look like what is now going on stage. What's going on stage is now that guitar is front and center, pardon me, and so you notice that I brought the guitar up during that solo. But then as soon as the solo was done, then the guitar player goes back in the mix to where he normally sits. And the singer, again, comes back up to front and center. Again, keeping the background singers. Same thing will happen with different styles of music. Maybe if you got a keyboard player has a solo there. but obviously the keyboard doesn't move. So, the backup singer might stop singing, but we don't necessarily move the keyboard up to front and center. It doesn't move. But we can bring it forward in the mix so that it's more predominant when the keyboard player is having a solo. The same thing might happen with, for instance, you got another guitar player. Maybe you got an acoustic guitar player. Sometimes your singer plays a guitar, like the little fella in my diagram here. Sometimes he's only the singer, and you have a separate guitar. So you might have the guitar player, somewhat along the same lines as the singer up front. But again, being conscious of, does my sound like it should look? Different people have asked me about their track. It doesn't quite sound right. Why does it not sound right? Well, when you listen to their track, it sounds like the singer is way back here, and the bass guitar player and the backup vocals are at the front. And it doesn't sound, that doesn't sound right because it doesn't look right. That's not typically how you set up your stage. Now maybe your lead singer is the bass player. I don't know. Sometimes that happens. It's a little bit more of a challenge because you got to make the singer to be up front, but not the bass guitar. So you're mixing them independently anyway. But does your sound like it should look? Well, my backup singers aren't very often right up on the front line, so they should always be a little bit back. My bass player is fairly predominant, but he's never standing right up front. And the lead singer should always be front and center. All right. So again, does my sound like it should look? Again, you're going to mix with your eyes as well as you mixing with your ears. Some people ask me, well, what's the right setting for the bass guitar, for instance? Well, the right setting is when the bass guitar sits in the proper place in the mix. And so again, listen with your ears, mix with your ears. Does my sound like it should look? Are the instrumentation where they should be if I imagine them on the stage? And is my singer up front and center? All right, thank you very much. I hope that has given you some ideas about mixing. Again, the concept of mixing with your ears as much as your eyes, and what you expect that's to sound like based on what you expect your stage to look like. Make sure your singers are up front. They get a little more volume than the other instrumentation. Make sure that you don't have something out of place in terms of where they would typically be in the stage setting. I want to say thank you to everybody who has subscribed so far. I believe this week we just crossed about 220 subscribers. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Nice to have you with us. If you haven't already, there should be buttons right here where you can like our video if you like it, subscribe, get a reminder, etc. And again, thank you very much. I hope this has been helpful.